Serious, what causes death more than people realize? Driving while sleeping. Tripping. Stairs. 20 million severe injuries each year and at least 200,000 death from consequences of the fall. Untreated dental problems. Mozzarella sticks. Street fights. You watch some Hollywood blockbusters and some MMA fights and you think you can do it too. I've seen stories of a guy minding his own business and gets rocked on the side of his head. It disconnected his spine and he was dead before he hit the ground. There was another story maybe a year ago of a scuffle where a guy was stabbed in the neck and bled out to the point of being unable to stand within 10 seconds. High blood pressure. Untreated infections. Shoveling snow. Influenza. Just regular old flu. Many people ignore it thinking it'll go away on its own. Globally the number per year is usually between 300,000 and 500,000. Mosquitoes. Well, here we go. Not exactly a huge surprise, but once upon a time I worked with a regional set of hospitals coordinating nationwide cause of death reports and statistics. 80% of all organ donor tissues cannot be accepted due to safety concerns around organ recovery. I won't say how much, but a surprisingly high percentage of successful organ donors are motorcyclists. Cheerleading, particularly involving gymnastic/aerobatic actions, is one of, if not the leading causes of death for young women under 18. Gunshot injuries and suicides are seasonal, something you can discern by way of the death rate in provinces and territories where it is dark for long periods of winter. Seasonal affective disorder is no joke. Alcoholism causing liver failure, and it's on the rise in the USA. Falling coconuts cause about 150 deaths annually. Coconuts kill around 150 people worldwide each year, which makes them about 10 times more dangerous than sharks. Peruse your county MES records. Infections that are left untreated. Forgetting kids inside cars. Stress. Your body can only handle so much of it, and it's labeled the silent killer for that reason. Lack of sleep causing psychosis. Constipation. About 900 deaths per year. https://link. Springer.com/article/10. Fall accidents. Ladders. Hey. Watch this. Female heart attacks. We tend to feel pain from other places other than the chest. Loneliness. Hippos. Grief. Vending machines falling on top of them. Chiropractors. Childbirth. Tylenol. Tripping/slipping/falling, even from short distances. Driving. Edit, holy crap. Depression is responsible for 850,000 deaths annually. Water, essential to live, but used improperly will kill you. Tree wells. And #X200B. Stay safe, skiers and boarders. Left-handed people using right-handed tools. Childbirth. Oddly enough still somewhat dangerous. Obviously much safer than it used to be, but there can be pretty serious complications. Sleep apnea causes heart attacks. Toxic shock from a combination of an injury, bad sanitation and inadequate medical facilities. It usually happens in third world countries that tourists love to visit and get drunk in. One wrong step in the wrong footwear. Working crazy hours/multiple jobs just to keep up appearances. This is going to get buried since I'm answering so late in the game. Not a cause of death, but still extremely important info that I am constantly telling others about: suffering a spinal cord injury from diving into water. I'm a quadriplegic and run a nonprofit that works with people after they suffer a spinal cord injury. Other than car accidents, diving into water is the second most common cause for spinal cord injuries that we see. The worst part about it is that it is probably the most preventable cause. If you are going to dive into the water, dive straight out, not down so that your head will potentially hit the bottom or a submerged object that you didn't know was there. Pneumonia. Mental health related suicide. Cliché answer, but internalized mental and emotional duress. Tetanus. Not going to the doctor regularly. We should have a plan like maintenance on a car. Texting and driving. ADHD. Researchers have identified ADHD as a key risk factor in premature death among adults. A study published in The Lancet showed that people with ADHD have a lower life expectancy and are more than twice as likely to die prematurely as those without the disorder. https://Edge Foundation. Attention. Serious tag notice. Asterisk jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. https://www. reddit.com/r/askreddit/wiki/index #wiki_rule_6, in any comment, parent, or child. Asterisk parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Asterisk report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit, /message/compose/to=r/AskReddit, if you have any questions or concerns. Giraffe, even lions stay away from then. Hippos. Radon. Night shifts. Following to close when driving. Diarrhea. I got this one because it was one of the first facts I learned on Reddit, a bottle of minced garlic past its due date. Literally poison and an incredibly painful death. Aneurysms fuck you up out of nowhere. What movie do you enjoy that you will 100% agree is a bad movie? Van Helsing. It's Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale a la the glory days of 2004. It's got a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. 6/10 on IMDb, but there's something about the dry jokes smattered in what's supposed to be high-tension scenes, or scenes of sexual tension. The core. I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a portion in the movie where everyone says it can't be done, but one guy takes a drag on a cig and says, "But what if we could? Without a paddle." Deep Blue Sea. I mostly enjoy that one unexpected scene. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Eurotrip. And #X200B. However, I feel conflicted about calling this movie bad, as I personally feel it was unfairly ignored by the Oscar committee. Scotty doesn't know. You kissed your sister. Club Vander Sexts. The core. Batman and Robin is certainly a bad movie. I love it so much. It's worth watching for Arnold and his puns alone. The Super Mario Bros. Live-action movie. Gone in 60 seconds. The Day After Tomorrow. Dude, Where's My Car? Edit, Zoltan and #10. And #10. Edit 2, surprised no one has quoted "I'm gonna have to confiscate yo pinky" yet. The Highlander. That movie goes all the way around. It's so bad that it's great. They need to cut people's head off. Why? 'Cause it's awesome. Sean Connery in his world-famous Scottish accent plays the Egyptian. Why? Because the French guy is playing the Highland Scot, of course. Okay, this sounds like it's going to be a disaster. Who's going to do the soundtrack? Queen. Fucking Queen? I bet some shit they already released and money grab songs. Oh no, they go for it, like some of their best songs are written just for that movie. Street Fighter with Raul Julia as Bison and Kylie Minogue as Cammy. Armageddon. Accepted. It's terrible and hilarious, has Justin Long at the peak of his teen movie years, and features Lewis Black as a version of himself as a jaded professor. The Faculty. It's cheesy, and some parts are almost laughable. Ghost Ship. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Fool's Gold. Blades of Glory is so. House Bunny. Early Van Damme movies. They're awful, but I've seen them all multiple times. Hackers. Balls of Fury. Ernest Scared Stupid. Triple X. The Cutting Edge. Encino Man. Center Stage. Anaconda. Biodome. Flash Gordon was released in 1980, but re-released this year in 4K. Bad, but in the best way. The entire Fast and Furious franchise is just an over-the-top action wet dream, but I love it. Night at the Roxbury. I loved Roadhouse. Battleship, it's a generic action disaster movie, but when Thunderstruck starts playing I always get pumped. Masters of the Universe. Frank Langella is incredible as Skeletor, and it's a genuinely fun movie. Hudson Hawk. Ghost Rider. I love it, but it is pretty cringe and GL. Van Helsing. The one with Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale, also in the Underworld movies. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Spice World. Never was into the Spice Girls, but I liked their movie. Vegas Vacation. Face Off. As an adult I know this movie is objectively terrible. Age of Adeline is one of my favorite movies. Tank Girl. It's cheesy as fuck, but I think it was meant to be cheesy. But it was not really able to walk that fine line of jokiness and cheesiness where it was supposed to come across as satire. Instead the movie is just kind of ridiculous. Basket Ball. Tommy Boy had terrible reviews when it came out. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Movie is just a fucking mess of horrible writing. God, I love it so much. Crank. Running Man. You don't mess with the Zohan. 13 Ghosts. PCU, it's pretty terrible but in a super fun way. Plus, there are a couple of early appearances by some pretty recognizable actors. Snakes on a Plane. SWAT. Masters of the Universe. Batman Forever. The Room. Any Pauly Shore movie, I cannot let them pass by. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Gotta be Zoolander. Van Helsing. Cabin Boy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I thought Valley Girls were so cool back then. Ernest Goes to Camp. People of Reddit who are anti-weed. Why? I'm only anti-weed for my personal consumption only. Why? Because I've smoked and eaten enough of it to put a down payment on 2 houses. I currently own 1 house, so I've decided to not use weed or any drugs moving forward to try and reclaim my life. Edit, thanks for the upvotes. I'm done talking about weed for the day. Edit 2, best comment on Reddit for January 17, 2023. I'm against marijuana use for people with a still developing brain. There are many studies to show why. Personally, I find the lazy stoner type to be true in some cases, and I find those people to be very annoying. I have some friends and family like this who stay high most of the day. It's a minority though, I am sure, so that doesn't really inform my general opinion on weed, but it is something I steer clear from when developing new relationships. My friends that smoke make it their entire identity. They used to have hobbies and were passionate about things. I used to really love getting stoned, but eventually it got to the point where it just made me sad that I felt like I had to get stoned before I watched a movie, or played a game, or had a nice meal. I hated that. I had a real fear that if I stopped I wouldn't enjoy those things anymore. January 1, 2022, I decided to give it up, ate my last edible and didn't order anymore. It's been just over a year now and I don't really miss it at all, and I just kind of feel dumb about how important it used to be to me. I miss the ritual of packing a bowl and the act of puffing on a pipe, but I don't miss being high, truly. I still have dreams where I smoke cigarettes though. I don't think that will ever go away, and I haven't smoked them in 5 years. Took me fucking years to shake off the years of weed I smoked. It's all personality. Not everyone that drinks becomes an alcoholic, but as a young kid I definitely was fed the line that it's not addictive and in a weird way good for you. I'm not anti-weed and I think it should be legalized. But I hate it when people treat it as this magic cure for everything that you can't get addicted to. Telling someone with mental illness that they should just smoke weed is dangerous. Even though it can help, it's easy to latch onto the feelings and make it an emotional addiction. Weed can also cause psychosis and lethargy, so it's definitely not as great as Reddit makes it to be. I'm not against weed itself, I'm against people smoking it in the downstairs history hall bathrooms and making the entire downstairs smell like weed and then complaining about how no one likes them. I was a heavy smoker for 6 years. Towards the end, I was going through one once every 2 weeks. Cannabis numbed me from my mental health issues. Any mind-altering substance can aggravate pre-existing mental instability, and weed certainly did for me. My problem with weed culture is that people who are heavy cannabis users think it is completely normal to smoke every day, to depend on this substance whenever they experience hardship. It is a very unhealthy habit that is entirely normalized. It's the same thing for weed, but no one talks about it. Not anti-weed per se, but the pro-weed is acting like there's no side effects and it's this completely harmless thing which everyone will respond well to. Weed culture is really annoying, and my friends who try to peer pressure me into smoking it in spite of my repeated reminders that it doesn't agree with me are equally annoying. Anti-weed? Nope. Anti-smoke? Definitely. The smell and the smoke are both triggers for asthma and allergies. Cause it's stinky, don't care if others do it, just not in my face. PLS. South Park put it best, it makes you okay with being bored and not doing anything, when you could instead improve yourself and push your limits and follow your dreams. Same as TikTok, phone games, and masturbation. I'm for legalizing it, but I'm definitely against the normalization and minimizing the negative aspects. No, you don't drive better when high. No, kids and teenagers shouldn't be allowed to get high. No, you don't need to be high in order to enjoy normal things. Do what you want, but I don't like the idea of being high, I don't like the smell, or smoking anything. It fucking stinks. I am anti-second-hand smoke, regardless they are from tobacco or weed. I don't care if anyone smokes anything, but I care about the air I breathe, and I don't want to smell the second-hand weed, which smells horrible and is bad for my lungs. It makes my lawn look ugly. Not really anti-weed per se, but I think that weed's current reputation of being mostly harmless is way overblown to the point of being a problem. Recreational weed is a mostly harmless thing to do once you both A. are done developing, mid-20s. B. have your shit together professionally and financially. If you don't meet these two criteria, that stuff runs a real risk of fucking you and or your life up. Yes, there has historically been a lot of lies and deception giving weed a worse reputation than it deserves, but that doesn't mean that all negatives are propaganda. It's not a black and white issue, and treating it as such is actively harmful. Immo. Edit, as pointed out in some replies, weed is not inherently safe if you pass both conditions. I'm not exactly anti-weed, I just think of it the same as alcohol in that it should only be done in moderation, occasionally and for social purposes. To get to a point where you depend on a substance to get through your day is never okay. That's an addiction, and that's substance abuse. I live with 2 roomies who are potheads. They smoke it like it's 3 meals a day plus some snacks and dessert, with a cherry on top. I have often found they can't remember things I speak to them about, which has caused many fights to the point of us no longer being on speaking terms. So I've asked them to smoke outside because 1, I don't like the house and myself smelling of fucking pot and they practically hotbox the place, 2, the smoke can and will cause long-term damage to the rental, and 3, The agent can rip us a new one if they knew they smoked indoors, kick us out, keep our bond, and could get us into legal trouble. Despite all of this, they continue to smoke indoors. They'll often go outside now, but they depend on it so much that if it's raining or if it's too hot outside or whatever, they'll just do it in their bathroom with the ceiling fan/vent on. The smoke is still gonna damage those walls over time and it still smells fucking awful. If it gets to a point where you can't get through a rainy day without smoking, if it gets to a point where you'd prefer to damage the rental instead of not smoking, if it gets to a point where you can't even remember the conversations you have with your roomies, it's bad. It's made me hate the shit. Edit. There's also a legal age for drinking for a reason. Kids and teenagers shouldn't be smoking the shit the same way they shouldn't be drinking while their brains are still developing. I'm fine with adults using it around other adults. I have issues with people using around kids who have no say. Smoked it the best part of 10 years. Quit when my wife got pregnant. I don't miss it, at all. Basically it is a fast forward button for life. Got time to kill? Nothing to do, well here is some weed and now the time flies by. You remember very little. Your ideas, if you write them down, turn out to be pretty poor but it feels earth-shattering at the time. I don't miss the anxiety of having to smoke every night, of worrying about people knowing I am high, coughing phlegm all the time. The smell, papers. The cost. Dealing with dealers. It's dope and now I look at it, I was a dope for smoking it for so long. It smells terrible. I smoke weed for context. It doesn't really do anything for me anymore. If you want to smoke weed on the weekends with your friends or family to relax, sure. But don't make it a daily habit. It fucks with your sleep. It fucks with your sense of smell. It fucks with your taste buds. You will cough black shit up. And yes, it is absolutely 100% without a doubt addicting. I've seen multiple people smoke it all day every day and fail to do anything else with their lives. And, they weren't really happy in general because they didn't really do anything else. Mostly, they just seemed uncaring/numb. If they went without weed for 1+ days, they would get agitated and couldn't really think about anything other than getting more weed. It's not a life I really want for myself. I want to care, at least a little bit. There are a lot of people who this isn't the case for. Many people are able to smoke/consume weed occasionally and gain some benefit from it. It's not as detrimental as something like alcohol, whether consumed occasionally or every day. But I've seen enough people who fit the lazy stoner stereotype to be put off of it, generally. Even more so, I dislike that it's treated as a miracle drug that can do no wrong. Just as it isn't a demon drug, it is not a miracle drug either. It has pros and cons, and we should respect both. There are worse vices, I guess. But I just generally dislike it for myself and I don't really like being around high people that much. To me is mostly because people act like it is not bothersome to others. It is horrible to be walking in the streets when suddenly you are covered in a cloud of smoke. It is equally bad with cigarettes, or how they suddenly start smoking in the worst places like cinemas, offices, even classroom, and yet act as if it was okay. They also have this holier than most attitude where they truly think weed is a fix-it-all type of drug when it is not. It ruined my brother. He no longer is the same person. I believe we have schizophrenia in our family and smoking weed made him develop it. He was fine before all the weed, and now he's literally insane. It's very sad. Jail, mental hospitals, accusing everybody of everything with his paranoid delusions, even if he's sober. I used to smoke weed every day. It makes me incredibly anxious, lazy, and stupid. I used it just to get out of my head and just so I would have a different perception of reality for a little bit. But what I'm mostly against is how the general public sees weed as this harmless drug that is just a natural herb, when in reality it has plenty of downsides both short and long term. I still think it should be legal. Hell, I think all drugs should be legal. Just hate the stigma of how weed is this miracle drug that can't negatively impact your life with zero side effects. Everybody is really rolling the dice when it comes to that because it's hard to know if you're genetically prone to such issues happening to begin with. I'm apparently allergic to it. The smell is a bit selfish, same to cigarette smoke. Or if I have a friend who can't do anything without being stoned off their ass. Feels like I talk to a zombie. Just because it's not bad for you doesn't make it good for you either. The mental side effects can slow your reflexes, slow your mental processing, and shoot your concentration more than social media does already. Met people who are almost like zombies or so mellow they don't take anything seriously, they're not very fun to be around. On a legal side, weed can last in your blood for days, even weeks if you're a consistent user. LMAO at the dude who deleted his comment for saying it should be illegal because it's illegal. I'm not anti-weed by any means, but I absolutely hate the smell. I'm pro-legalization, but after extensive use, I've found that it absolutely has negative impacts which are under-researched and poorly explained. It's seen as risk-free and it is not. Use is fraught with consequences both physically and more so mentally. It causes anxiety in many, can lead to or expose schizophrenic symptoms, paranoia, depression, mood disorders and many other very real, serious conditions. End of the day. IDGAF who smokes, but people who say it's risk-free or safe are just fucking dumb.